Control! Control, come in! I need backup now! I'm being hunted by a pride of cave lions! Control, can you hear me? They're gaining on me! God damn it, answer the radio! A cabin! Oh, thank God! Hello? Is anyone home? They're here. Oh no. I need to barricade the door with something. Oh my God, that's not a cave lion!
Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to be making a habitat for the one and only Elasmotherium, a ginormous rhinoceros with a bad attitude. This video was inspired by Paleo Dude, who left a comment on the last video we made for the cave lion habitat. He suggested that we make a lakeside cabin where a bull Elasmotherium has established his territory. And that's exactly what we're going to build today. When I read this comment, I thought, what a marvellous idea. So thank you very much, Paleo Dude, for this brilliant suggestion. If you've got any more, or if anyone else can think of any cool ideas of abandoned places that these huge megafauna have took over in this Ice Age apocalypse, please share them in the comments down below. But yes, I thought this is a brilliant idea. So we're going to build this abandoned cabin in the woods. Maybe this was a holiday home for people to come and stay at when on vacation. We're also going to build a little boathouse by the side of the lake, so they might have gone out on a boat, done a bit of fishing and things like that. A nice place for you to retreat and clear your mind. But it is no longer a holiday home. It is now the home of a huge bull Elasmotherium. So maybe not a nice relaxing place anymore, because you better tread lightly when walking through these grasslands and these forests, because you may come across a very angry, very territorial Elasmotherium, and he may see you as a threat, and you might provoke him to charge, and you definitely don't want to be on the receiving end of that charge, because on the end of his nose he has a 3-meter long horn. So if you thought the Coelodonta was bad, well, the Elasmotherium blows him out of the water. He's absolutely huge. When you compare the Elasmotherium next to the Coelodonta, you really get a sense of how big this animal really is. So it's no wonder he's established this little island with this cabin on all to himself, because I think the other animals are too scared to take him on. I think even the cave lions are staying away from this island. It's out of bounds for them. They're like, don't cross the river, because there's a very grumpy Elasmotherium living on this island. So as you can see, the cabin is coming together, and at the moment I'm just putting in the framework for the cabin, but I want it to look like it's abandoned. I want it to look like it's very, very old. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the roof in moss, and this is something that's been only put on the game recently. It wasn't there before. It's like a blanket. There you can see it is a blanket of moss, and I'm just putting this on the roof because nature is taking back these abandoned places. So there's no one there to clean the roof or keep the holiday home intact. No maintenance being done on it, so it's gradually being taken over by nature. So I'm just putting this carpet of moss over the roof, and I'm going to put loads of vines growing all over the walls and really make it look abandoned. I don't know what it is about abandoned buildings. There's just something really really cool about them. It's a bit eerie as well, but there's just something so cool. I think it's just how nature, just how quick it comes back and starts to reclaim the land and take it back for its own. If you've ever been to an abandoned building, you'll know what I mean. You're alone and you feel alone, but you also don't feel alone. You feel like there's a presence with you. I don't know what it is. It's very odd and eerie, but there's just something about it that fascinates me about them. And they are fun to explore. I've explored a few, and I'm trying to use ideas from things I've seen of these abandoned places that I've been to. I'm trying to incorporate this into this cabin. I've never been to an abandoned cabin before, though, in the woods. Oh, tell a lie, I actually have. Yes, I remember canoeing down a stream. Where was it now? I think it was in yes, it was France. We was in France, and we was in the French Pyrenees mountains camping, and we were canoeing down this river, and we saw something in the woods that caught our attention, and we thought, oh, let's go and explore. And there was this cabin just left abandoned. It was very, very eerie, and nature was taking over it, a bit like this one here. And we had to be very cautious as we were exploring it, because there are bears in the French Pyrenees mountains. They've released brown bears back into the wild. So as we were exploring it, we thought we better be careful here. We don't want to wake up a sleeping bear that's made this cabin his home. But no, we didn't bump into any bears. I would have liked to have seen one from a safe distance, of course, maybe from my canoe across the river, but I wouldn't like to bump into one in a cabin. And I certainly wouldn't want to bump into an angry Elasmotherium. But there was one place where I did find an animal that took refuge in an abandoned building. It was a barn owl. And at first, I didn't know what it was. I was just walking along, and then next minute I see this figure, this shape, come out of the doorway, and it was flying on its side. So it was flying like side on, so it looked enormous. I just saw this shape and thought, what on earth is that? And it was this great big barn owl that just flew out silently, didn't even make a sound with its wings. It just flew out. If you didn't see it, you wouldn't have even heard anything. You wouldn't have known anything was there. And it just flew out, circled around, and then flew back in. And then I managed to see him perched on this this beam on the ceiling, and was just looking at me. And I thought, oh my goodness, I better leave, because I think I'm disturbing him. I don't know if he had a nest or anything like that. But wow, that was really, really cool. A fantastic animal encounter it was. And here you can see I've just built a little outhouse for the guests to go to the toilet. And you can see there I've just put in some mushrooms, and they're also new to the game. Some more vegetation for us to play around with. And you can see that I've just put in those red ones with the little white dots. They look like little cakes, don't they? Mind you, I do think those ones are poisonous, so you definitely don't want to eat those. And the other mushrooms look like magic mushrooms, so let's hope that the Elasmotherium doesn't eat them by mistake and get high. Imagine that, you don't just stumble across an Elasmotherium, you stumble across one that's high on magic mushrooms. Oh my goodness. That would be quite the encounter, wouldn't it? Might chill him out a bit though, might not be so aggressive if you come across him on that day. And here we are, onto the boathouse. So this is where all the boats and the canoes and everything are going to be kept, that the guests could come out and maybe do a spot of fishing whilst on holiday, or just maybe just go for a nice relaxing paddle around the lake and the rivers, have a look at the beautiful scenery of Canada, and yeah, just enjoy themselves on their holiday. So we're putting in the framework for the boathouse, and then we're going to make this look abandoned as well. Put some moss on it and some vines, and try and make it look like it started to you know, be taken over by nature, starting to rot away. It's right near the water as well, so no one's looking after it, no one's looking after the wood or anything. So over time, this building is really going to become worn down, and we'll just stack some canoes there on the wall. Lovely stuff. And some fishing nets there in case they wanted to go out fishing, and just some supplies and things there that they may have used. Lovely. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Elasmotherium, this huge rhino. Let's see how big he really was, because I'm telling you now, he is an absolute monster. He dwarfs the modern day rhinos and the Coelodonta. So let's have a look at the length of this animal. Okay, so the largest rhinoceros to live today is the white rhino, and they measure up around 4 meters in length, whereas the Elasmotherium 6 meters in length, so 2 meters longer than the largest rhino to live today. Now, height-wise, modern day white rhinos are 1.85 meters, so almost 2 meters tall. The Elasmotherium is 2.5 meters high at the shoulder, so a little bit taller as well. Now, let's take a look at the weight of these animals, because they're very stocky creatures with a lot of muscle, so they are very, very heavy. A baby white rhino weighs around 40 to 60 kilograms. What a big baby, being born at that weight. Adult females grow to about 1.8 to 2 tons, whereas the males are around 1.8 to 2.5 tons. However, there are some larger individuals that can exceed 3.5 tons. But the biggest white rhino that was ever weighed and recorded was 4.6 tons. Wow, that is a heavy rhino. Even for a rhino, he's heavy. So imagine now, let's have a look at the weight of an Elasmotherium. 5 to 6 tons. My goodness, just shows how big this animal really is. But imagine, that's your average Elasmotherium. Imagine if you got a huge one, because we do see this in the wild, animals that just get freakishly big, even for their own species. Imagine, how big the biggest Elasmotherium, how big this one would have been. We're talking maybe, I don't know, around 8 tons or something like that. Maybe a really, really freakishly big one. But yeah, the average one would weigh around 5 to 6 tons, which is enormous. And when you actually look on the game here and compare the Coelodonta, which is about the same size as a modern day white rhino, when you compare them both together, you just get a sense of scale, how large this animal actually is. It's almost as big as a mammoth. It's huge. You definitely don't want to come across that animal charging at you in the wilderness. Now, there is many discussions going on about this animal, whether it did have a horn or not, because there is no evidence that this animal actually had a horn. The thing that the horn is made up of is keratin, which is the same thing as hair and our fingernails, and it doesn't fossilize particularly well. So when they've dug up the skeletons of these animals, the fossils, the remains, they've never found evidence of an actual horn, but they're just guessing, because it's related to rhinos, it is a rhino, that it probably did have a horn. So in the game, they actually give you 2 options. You can have an Elasmotherium with a horn, big, long, 3-meter long horn, or a bit of a stub, a bit like a Pachyrhinosaurus. And we had a bit of a debate going on in one of our videos. Somebody thought that the Elasmotherium didn't have a horn, And other people started chipping in saying, oh, maybe it did or maybe it didn't. I guess we can only guess. I'm sure there are cave paintings of the Elasmotherium showing it with a big horn, but was that just a coelodonta they were painting? Who knows? If I had to guess, I would say I think it has a horn. I think it did have a horn, because I think, I don't know, when you've got predators like Smilodon and wolves and, bears and cave lions, all these predators, I think you need to defend yourself with something. I know he's very big, but I think, you need something to defend yourself with, and I think a horn, if your other ancestors have a horn, I don't see the reason why these ones wouldn't. But there was a study that was done, and what they were looking at was the bones of the neck and the back, and how big the muscles would be attached to these. On the back of a rhino's neck and going onto the back is like a big hump, a large hump where lots of fat and muscle was stored, because that horn is going to be very, very heavy, and to keep your head off the ground you're going to need a lot of muscle. And the scientists that were doing this study, they were saying that the muscles that would have been attached to all this bone, they would have been very, very large, suggesting that there was a very large horn on the end of its head. Otherwise, why would it have the need for all this muscle on these bones? So they were suggesting that it probably did have a horn. I think it did. I think it would have had a horn. I think it would have needed it to defend itself against such formidable predators. So yeah, I'm going to say I think it did. What do you think? Do you think it had a horn, or do you think it didn't? Let me know in the comments down below. And we're just finishing off the island here, sprinkling in a few trees, a few lovely redwoods here, and a nice patch of grassland there. We had somebody comment on the lion habitat. User MB2SS523X, flipping heck, that was a mouthful, suggested a woodland grassland for the Elasmotherium. Basically a few large trees and some scrub, but majority would be grassland, similar to an African savanna. And yes, I agree with you there, because these animals wouldn't be browsing off the trees, they'd be browsing off the grass on the ground level. So we've given him there a little patch where there's plenty of bushes and things for him to browse on, but also he can leave the island and wander. He might go off and forage and then come back to the island to sleep near his cabin whilst getting high on magic mushrooms. But no, thank you very much for your comment. If you've got any more ideas, please do share them down below in the comments. We love to hear from you, so please don't be shy. Leave your comments down below. Let us know what you'd like to see next built in this Ice Age Apocalypse Park. And to finish off, I'm just building the interior of the cabin. I don't want it to be an empty room. I want to make it look like it's actually been lived in. So we're just making a lovely fireplace here. But the stonework here I don't think was the best choice. It was making my eyes go a little bit funny. So instead we've gone with this brickwork and then a stone slab at the bottom. You can't have a cabin without its own fire. You need that to keep you warm, especially in the winter months here in Canada when it's very, very cold. And at the side of the fireplace there you can see I'm just putting in some shelves just to put in some supplies and equipment. And I do love these little pots and the new objects that they've given us in the game. the prehistoric caveman objects. I think they look really, really good. They make nice decoration, and it just gives you a bit of variety to decorate your park with. And I'm just putting in a nice log beam there above the fireplace. Lovely. And we'll finish off with a few logs. And I think we need to, those baskets at the side will probably have lots of chopped up logs ready for use, so you can keep topping up the fire and, you know, making sure it doesn't go out, so you stay nice and warm. And here we've put in a dividing wall with a door in it. This will lead you to the bedroom where you will sleep, and the rest of the cabin is all open plan. So we've got the living area there, the lounge, sat by the fireplace where you can chill out and relax. And then the kitchen is going to be round the corner. I've just put in another window there because I thought it looked a little bit dark and dull there. So we put another window in, and more boxes, really try and make it look cluttered. And a nice little coffee table here. Just put some legs on it so you can put your feet up on the table. I know you're not meant to, but after a hard day hiking in the Canadian wilderness, you might want to put your feet up and relax. And this is the kitchen area, so I'm just using some windows here. They've got like doors on them, so I'm going to use them to look like cupboards where you'll keep all your plates and cutlery and everything, and then just build it in to look like it is a cupboard. There we go. Lovely. And I do love the new table design that they've given us as well. You can see it there at the side. It's a little prehistoric table. It's basically just a slab of stone with a piece of wood on it, and then some stumps with some animal fur on top for cushioning. So I've put that in there. Try and make it look a bit rustic in here. You know, lots of different types of wood and shadings of wood from all the wood that they've chopped to make this. There we go. We've got all the cupboard doors on. Put a nice little knife there and some pots. There we go. And that can be the sink. Very basic sink. There's no running water here, no tap. You'll have to bring your own water and pour it in that sink. And then we'll have some cupboards on the top there of the ceiling just for some extra storage. Lovely. There we go. Marvellous. Oh, and we'll put a cooker in as well, so you can cook your food on the stove. And we're just using, I think that's a vent, that, and some, I'm not sure what you call them, those little circular things. I'm just grabbing anything that will look right. Here we're using a door. I'm going to squash it to make it look like the oven door that folds out. And then some extra shelves, just for some more storage space. There we go. Wonderful. So we're coming close to the end of this build now. There's just one more thing to put in, and that is, of course, a pumpkin patch. This is why the Elasmotherium came here in the first place, to gorge himself on pumpkins. Maybe that's why he's got so big. So there we have it. The Elasmotherium habitat is complete. And I think he's got a lovely, lovely habitat to live in, hasn't he? Look at him there, guarding his pumpkins. Yes, so thank you very much, guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next habitat we build in this Ice Age apocalypse.